The Great Hall of Nathara Prime stretched for nearly a mile in every direction. Its walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. 12 species had sent their leaders here today. All of them had come to discuss the same problem. Humanity Ambassador Kong Minho stood alone in the center of the chamber. He was a small man compared to the aliens around him. The Velthrani towered above him at 9 feet tall, their silver skin reflecting the crystal light. The Krethis were shorter, but wider, their 4 arms folded across armored chests. The Nolvek floated in glass tanks filled with green liquid, their tentacles pressing against the walls as they watched. Minho kept his hands behind his back and his face calm. He had been Earth's voice in alien space for 15 years. He had learned that showing emotion was seen as weakness here. The High Speaker of the Velthrani rose from his throne. His name was impossible for human tongues to speak, so Minho simply called him the Speaker in his mind. The Speaker's voice echoed through the chamber like thunder rolling across mountains. "We have gathered to address the expansion of the human species," the Speaker said. "In 80 of their years, they have spread to 47 worlds. They breed quickly. They build quickly. They learn quickly." Krethis commander stepped forward. His name was Grath, and he had conquered 6 species in his long career. His eyes were like burning coals set deep in his skull. "They are children," Grath said, "playing with toys they do not understand. They found old Velthrani ships and copied our technology like students copying their teacher's work. They have no original thought, no true power." Minho said nothing. He simply listened. The Nolvek representative bubbled something in their liquid language. A translation device spoke for them. "Our analysis agrees. Human technology is derivative. Their ships are crude copies. Their weapons are primitive kinetic systems that our shields can easily stop. They are not a threat." "Then why are we here?" asked the Speaker. Grath smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Because children who play with fire must be taught a lesson before they burn down the house. I propose we strike their colony on Vega 4. A quick war. A demonstration of true power. After we crush them, they will know their place in our galaxy." Minho felt his heart beat faster, but his face remained stone. Vega 4 was home to 3 million humans. It was a farming world, peaceful and green. His own sister lived there with her 2 children. The Speaker raised one long silver hand. "We cannot make such decisions based on feelings alone. We must consult the predictors." The center of the chamber floor opened, and a machine rose from below. It was ancient technology, built by a species that had died 1 million years ago. The quantum predictor could calculate the outcome of any battle with near-perfect accuracy. Every major war in galactic history has been decided by this machine first. The Speaker pressed his hand against the machine's surface. "Calculate the following scenario. The Kratheus Dominion attacks the human colony on Vega 4 with a fleet of 400 warships. The humans defend with their full military strength. What is the outcome?" The machine hummed. Lights flickered inside its crystal core. Then it spoke in a voice that was neither male nor female, neither alive nor dead. "Probability of Krethis victory, 99.7%. Estimated human resistance time, 6.4 standard hours. Estimated Krethis casualties, 12 ships, 3,400 soldiers. Estimated human casualties, total." The chamber erupted in sounds of approval. The Krethis stamped their feet. The Velthrani clicked their tongues. Even the Nolvek bubbled with what seemed like satisfaction. Grath turned to look at Minho. "You see, human? Your species will resist for 6 hours before you are completely destroyed. Your ships are weak. Your weapons are toys. Your people are soft." Minho finally spoke. His voice was quiet but clear. "May I ask a question?" The Speaker nodded. "You may." "Your machine calculates based on known variables," Minho said. "It looks at our ships and sees crude metal boxes. It looks at our weapons and sees simple kinetic systems. It counts our numbers and finds them small. But does it calculate what it cannot see?" Grath laughed. "There's nothing to see. We have studied your species for decades. You have no secrets from us, if you say so," Minho said. The speaker leaned forward on his throne. Do you deny the predictor's calculation? Do you claim your species can defeat 400 Krethus warships? Minho was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled just slightly. I claim nothing. I simply observe that your machine tells you how long we will survive. It does not tell you how long it will take us to win. Perhaps you assume those are the same question. Perhaps they are not. Grath roared with laughter. The human has gone mad with fear. He speaks nonsense. But the speaker did not laugh. He stared at Minho with ancient eyes that had seen 1,000 species rise and fall. For just a moment, something like doubt flickered across his silver face. The council will vote, the speaker announced. All in favor of allowing the Krethus Dominion to attack Vegafor. 11 hands rose. 11 species voted yes. Only the speaker hesitated, his hand halfway up, his eyes still locked on Minho's calm face. Then he too raised his hand. The vote is unanimous. The attack is approved. A Velthrani servant approached Minho with a crystal tablet. On it was written, the formal declaration of war. Minho took the tablet, read it carefully, and placed it inside his coat. Ambassador Kong, the speaker said, do you have any response for your government? Minho looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. He saw their confidence, their certainty, their complete belief that humanity would fall in 6 hours. He bowed deeply, a gesture of respect in human culture. Then he straightened and spoke his final words to the council. I will deliver your message, and I will deliver my government's response when the time comes. He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. None of the aliens spoke. They watched the small human walk away, and most of them felt satisfaction. They were about to teach a young species an important lesson, but the speaker watched with different eyes. He had lived for 3,000 years. He had seen confident species fall and weak species rise. And something about the way King Minho walked troubled him deeply. The human did not walk like a man going to his death. He walked like a man going home to prepare for guests. The speaker said nothing. Perhaps he was wrong. Perhaps the predictor was correct, as it had always been correct. But deep in his ancient heart, a small voice whispered that the galaxy was about to change forever. Outside the chamber, Minho stepped into his shuttle and closed his eyes. His hands were shaking now, where no one could see them. 3 million people on Vegafor, his sister, his niece and nephew, the entire future of humanity. He opened a secure channel to Earth. "This is Ambassador Kong," he said. "The council has voted. War is coming. Execute Protocol Dawn." On the other end, a voice replied with 2 words that carried the weight of human history. Understood. Beginning. The war would start in 72 hours. The aliens expected it to last 6 hours after that. They were wrong. They were very, very wrong. The UES Indomitable hung in the darkness of space like a sleeping giant. From the outside, it looked exactly like what the aliens expected. A crude metal box, gray armor plates bolted together. Simple engine pods. Nothing impressive. Nothing threatening. Admiral Park Doyon stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the main window. He was 53 years old with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much death. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations in perfect silence. They all knew what was coming. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Yoon Hanna from the tactical station, "we have received the message from Ambassador Kang. Protocol Dawn is active."
Oh.
Doyon nodded slowly. "How long until the Krethus' fleet arrives?" 71 hours and 43 minutes, sir, is in our fleet status. Hannah pulled up the information on her screen. All 80 ships are in position around Vega 4. Ground defenses are ready. Evacuation of non-essential civilians is complete. We have moved 2.4 million people to the underground shelters. The children. All children under 16 have been evacuated to the moon base, sir. They are safe. Doyon let out a breath he had been holding. Whatever happened in the coming battle, the children would survive. That was the most important thing. He turned to face his bridge crew. These were the best officers in the human fleet. They had trained for years for this moment. They had run thousands of simulations. They had prepared for every scenario the aliens might throw at them. Gather the senior officers in the war room, Doyen said. It's time they knew everything. 30 minutes later, the war room was full. Captain Li Juwu sat at the front, her dark eyes sharp and focused. She commanded the stealth frigate Silent Thunder, one of 12 ships in humanity's secret weapon program. Next to her sat Chief Engineer Beak Sora, a woman whose genius had changed the course of human history. At the back stood Sergeant Major O Tai-Yang, leader of the Marine assault teams. His massive arms crossed over his chest. Doyan stood at the head of the table and activated the holographic display. An image of the Krethis fleet appeared, 400 warships in perfect formation. This is what's coming for us, Doyan said. 400 ships. Plasma weapons. Energy shields. Technology that makes our ships look like children's toys. He paused and looked at each officer in turn. At least, that's what they think. He pressed a button, and the display changed. Now it showed a human ship, but this image was different. It showed the inside of the ship, all the systems hidden beneath the crude metal exterior. 40 years ago, Doyan said, a Velthrani scout ship crashed on Mars. Our scientists recovered it in secret. They took it apart piece by piece. They studied every system, every weapon, every shield generator. Beak Sora spoke up, her voice proud. We didn't just copy their technology. We improved it. The aliens have been using the same systems for thousands of years. They never innovate because they think they've already perfected everything. But humans are different. We look at something and immediately think about how to make it better. Doyan nodded. Our shields look primitive on the outside, but inside they use adaptive matrix technology. They learn from every hit they take. The first shot weakens them. The second shot makes them stronger. By the fifth shot, they're almost impossible to break. Captain Li Jiwu leaned forward. And the stealth ships? The aliens don't believe stealth is possible in space, Beak Sora said. They think we're too stupid to figure it out. They're wrong. The Silent Thunder and her sister ships use quantum field displacement. 2 alien sensors. They simply don't exist. What about weapons? Asked Sergeant Major O Tai-Yang. Their plasma cannons can cut through anything. Doyan smiled for the first time. That's where we have our biggest advantage. The aliens have used energy weapons for so long that they've forgotten about kinetic weapons. They think our railguns are primitive jokes. Their shields are designed to stop plasma and beam weapons. They have almost no defense against a solid tungsten round traveling at 12% of light speed. Room went silent as the officers understood what this meant. We're going to punch right through their shields, Kiwu said quietly, as Dojan confirmed. But our biggest advantage is something they can't even imagine. Beak Sora explained the Cascade Network. Beak Sora stood and walked to the display. She pressed several buttons, and the image changed to show all 80 human ships connected by glowing lines. Human brains work differently than alien brains, she said. We evolved as pack hunters. We work together naturally, instinctively. The Cascade Network uses this. It connects all our ship's computers into one system. But more importantly, it connects all our crew's minds through neural interface. We become one organism, Doyan added. 80 ships thinking with one brain. When Lieutenant Yunhana sees an opportunity, every ship in the fleet knows about it instantly. When a pilot on one ship thinks of a maneuver, every other pilot can execute it at the same moment. We don't have to communicate. We just know. Oh, Tai-Yang uncrossed his arms. The boarding teams. You'll deploy once we've disabled their ships. Your job is to capture their commanders alive and secure their computer cores. We need their intelligence, and we need prisoners. We're not here to commit genocide. We're here to win a war and then make peace. Doyen turned off the display and looked at his officers with steady eyes. The aliens think this battle will last 6 hours. They think we'll fight bravely and then die. They're wrong. This battle will be over in minutes. And when it's over, the galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. He paused, letting his words sink in. I won't lie to you. Some of us will die. That's the price of war. But our children will live free. Our species will take its rightful place among the stars. And every alien in the galaxy will learn an important lesson. What lesson is that, sir? Jiwoo asked. Doyan's smile was cold and hard. Never underestimate a human. We are small. We are young. We are fragile. But we are also stubborn, creative, and absolutely unwilling to accept defeat. The aliens calculated how long we would survive. We calculated how fast we could win. That's the difference between them and us. They think about survival. We think about victory. Straightened his uniform and looked at the stars through the window. 70 hours until contact. Get some sleep. Call your families. And when you wake up tomorrow, remember what we're fighting for. Not revenge. Not conquest. Just the right to exist on our own terms. The officers stood and saluted. Then they left to prepare for the battle that would change everything. Admiral Park Do-yen stayed alone in the war room, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, 400 alien warships were preparing to destroy everything he loved. They thought they knew what was coming. They had no idea. The Krethis fleet emerged from hyperspace like wolves coming out of the forest. 400 warships arranged in perfect attack formation. Their hulls gleamed with purple energy shields. Their plasma cannons glowed hot and ready. Commander Grath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crusher of Worlds, and smiled at the view before him. Vega 4 hung. In space, like a blue and green jewel. Beautiful, peaceful, soon to be conquered. Scan the system, Grath ordered. Show me what the humans have prepared. His sensor officer worked the controls. I detect 80 human vessels in defensive formation around the planet. Standard configuration. Crude metal construction. Primitive weapons systems. Any surprises? None, Commander. Their ships are exactly what our intelligence predicted. Metal boxes with simple kinetic weapons and basic shields. This will not take long. Groth nodded with satisfaction. The quantum predictor had said 6 hours. He intended to do it in 3. Open a channel to the planet. The communications screen flickered, and a human woman appeared. She had short black hair and calm eyes that showed no fear. Her name was Governor Shin Yoonji, and she was responsible for 3 million lives. This is Commander Grath of the Krethis Dominion, he announced. Your pathetic fleet is no match for our power. Surrender now, and we will show mercy. Resist, and we will destroy you completely. Governor Shin Yoonji tilted her head slightly. When she spoke, her voice was steady and cold. This is Vega 4 Colony. We are citizens of the United Earth Federation. We have received your terms. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Come and take it. The channel closed. Grath roared with laughter. Brave words from a dead woman. All ships advance. Prepare to fire on my command. The Krethis fleet moved forward. Their engines burned bright against the darkness of space. On every ship, soldiers prepared for an easy victory. On every bridge, commanders relaxed in their chairs, certain of what was about to happen. On the UES Indomitable, Admiral Park Do-yan watched the enemy approach. His heart was steady. His mind was clear. Beside him, Lieutenant Yoon Hana monitored her tactical screens with laser focus. Enemy fleet entering optimal range in 30 seconds, she reported. All ships. Activate the Cascade Network, Do-yan ordered. Throughout the human fleet, neural interfaces hummed to life. 80 ships became one. Thousands of minds linked together in perfect harmony. Every captain felt what every other captain felt. Every gunner saw what every other gunner saw. They were no longer individual vessels. They were one organism with one purpose. Shields to adaptive mode, Do-yan continued. Hold fire until my command. Enemy weapons charging, Hannah said. They're preparing to fire. Let them. Grath's voice echoed across the Krethis fleet. All ships, fire. 400 warships released their plasma cannons at once. Bright purple beams cut through space, converging on the human fleet like a net of fire. The Krethis officers watched with hungry eyes, waiting to see human ships explode. The beams hit. Human shields flared white. The adaptive systems analyzed the plasma frequency in milliseconds. They adjusted. They strengthened. The second wave of fire hit even harder, but the shields held stronger. Grath's smile faded. Report. Damage assessment. Commander, the human shields are still active. We detect no damage to their fleet. Impossible. Fire again. Maximum power. The third volley was the strongest yet. Every Krethis ship poured everything they had into the attack. The space between the fleets became a sea of purple fire. When it cleared, all 80 human ships remained. What is happening? Grath demanded. Their shields should have collapsed. On the Indomitable, Doyon nodded to Hannah. Their confusion gives us our opportunity. Initiate Protocol Monsoon. Hannah's fingers danced across her controls. Protocol Monsoon active. From every human ship, waves of electromagnetic energy burst outward. The pulses swept across the Krethis' fleet like invisible storms. On every alien bridge, sensor screens dissolved into static. Communication systems screamed with noise. Navigation computers crashed and rebooted. We're blind. The Krethis sensor officer shouted. All sensors are offline. Grath gripped his command chair. How long until they recover? Unknown, Commander. The interference is unlike anything in our records. In those seconds of blindness, Captain Li Jiwu made her move. The Silent Thunder and her 11 sister ships had been waiting in the darkness, invisible to all sensors. Now they accelerated, slipping through the chaos like sharks through murky water. Stealth Squadron in position, Jiwu reported through the Cascade network. Every officer in the fleet heard her as clearly as if she stood beside them. Ready to disable enemy command ships on your order, Admiral? Hold position, Dujin replied. Wait for the main assault to be. Ejin, we need them looking forward when you hit them from behind. 4 minutes had passed since the battle began. 0 human ships destroyed. 0 human casualties. The Krethis fleet was already losing formation. Their perfect attack scattered into confusion. On Vega 4, Governor Xin Yongji watched the battle from her command center. Her staff stood in stunned silence. They had prepared for hours of desperate fighting. They had prepared to watch their protectors die one by one. Instead, they were watching their enemies fumble in the dark. Governor, her communications officer, said, Admiral Park is requesting a channel. Yongji accepted the connection. Doyen's face appeared on her screen, calm and focused. Governor, the first phase is complete. Enemy sensors are down. Their formation is broken. We're about to begin the counterattack. Casualties? Yongji asked. None. Not a single human has died. Yongji felt tears form in her eyes, but she held them back. Admiral, I don't know how to thank you. Thank me after we win. This isn't over yet. But I wanted you to know that your people are safe. The children on the moon base are safe. Whatever happens in the next few minutes, the colony will survive. What are you about to do? Doyan's expression changed. For the first time, Yunji saw something fierce in his eyes. Something ancient and human and absolutely terrifying. We're about to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten our families. The channel closed. Above Vega 4, the human fleet began to move. 80 ships, thinking as one mind, turned their weapons toward the blinded enemy. Their railguns charged with power that the aliens could not imagine. Their missiles armed themselves with warheads designed to punch through any shield. Lieutenant Yun Hana took a deep breath. Through the Cascade network, she felt every gunner in the fleet. She saw through 1,000 eyes. She calculated with 1,000 minds. All batteries, she said quietly. Target acquired. Krethis' sensors began to flicker back online. Commander Grath saw the human fleet on his screen, no longer defensive, now moving in attack formation. They're coming toward us, he said in disbelief. They're attacking? His words were the last calm words spoken on the Crusher of Worlds. Admiral. Park Do-yen spoke one word that changed the history of the galaxy. Fire. The first railgun rounds crossed the distance between fleets in less than a second. They were simple things. Tungsten metal shaped into pointed cylinders. No explosives. No energy fields. Just pure mass traveling at 12% of the speed of light. The Krethis, had spent 10,000 years perfecting shields against plasma weapons. They had developed barriers that could stop any energy beam, absorb any radiation burst, deflect any laser. They had never considered defending against a solid metal rod moving faster than thought. The first rounds hit the Crethus forward line. They punched through energy shields like paper. They tore through armored holes without slowing. They ripped through reactor cores and ammunition stores and crew quarters. Ships that had conquered a dozen worlds exploded in seconds. Commander Grath watched his screen in frozen horror. 20 ships gone in the first volley, 20 more in the second. His mighty fleet was dying around him, and he could not understand why. "How?" he whispered. "Their weapons are primitive. Our shields should stop anything." His tactical officer's voice shook with terror. "Commander, their weapons are kinetic. Our shields are not designed for kinetic impacts. We have no defense." Through the Cascade network, Lieutenant Yoon Hannah coordinated the human attack with perfect precision. She felt every gunner's mind. She saw every target through 1,000 eyes. Before a Crethus ship could even begin to maneuver, she had already predicted its path and assigned 3 vessels to destroy it. Target Cluster 7. Adjust firing solution by 0.3 degrees, she thought. And 3 ships adjusted instantly. Enemy destroyer attempting to flank, Battery 12 respond, she thought. And Battery 12 was already firing. The Crethus had never faced anything like this. They were used to battles where each ship fought alone, where commanders shouted orders and waited for responses, where confusion was normal and mistakes were common. The human fleet moved like a single creature with 80 bodies. There were no delays, no miscommunications, no mistakes. Admiral Park Do-yeon stood at the center of the storm, his mind connected to every ship in his fleet. He felt their fear and their courage. He felt their determination and their rage. He channeled it all into cold, precise violence. Captain Lee, he thought through the network. Execute Phase 2. Behind the Crethus fleet, 12 invisible ships revealed themselves. Captain Lee Ji-woo's stealth squadron dropped their quantum fields and appeared from nothing. They were already at point-blank range, their weapons already aimed at the engines of the largest enemy ships. "Stealth Squadron, fire," Guho commanded. The Crethus rearguard never had a chance. Their engines exploded. Their power cores failed. Ships that carried thousands of soldiers became dead metal floating in space. Grath spun his chair around. "Enemies behind us? Where did they come from?" "Unknown, Commander. Our sensors showed nothing. They appeared from empty space." The Crusher of Worlds shook as a railgun round tore through its secondary hull. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Crew members ran through corridors that were filling with smoke and fire. "We cannot win this," Grath's second officer said. "We must retreat." "No," Grath roared. "We are Crethus. We do not run from children." But his fleet was no longer listening to him. Ships were breaking formation, trying to escape, crashing into each other in their panic. The perfect attack had become a chaotic rout on the Indomitable. Chief Engineer Beek Sora monitored the Cascade network with pride. Her creation was performing beyond all expectations. The human fleet was using 93% less communication bandwidth than a normal fleet. Decisions that should take minutes were happening in milliseconds. "Admiral," she reported, "enemy fleet cohesion has completely collapsed. Approximately 140 ships destroyed, 60 more disabled and drifting. The rest are attempting to flee or surrender." "Casualties?" Do-yeon asked. "One of human ships damaged. 12 human personnel injured. 0 deaths." Do-yeon let out a slow breath. 11 minutes since the battle began. 0 human deaths. The quantum predictor had given humanity 6 hours of survival. They were already winning, Sergeant Major. "Oh," Do-yeon commanded through the network. "Deploy boarding teams to disabled enemy vessels. Priority targets are the command ships and any vessel carrying intelligence data."
"Understood."
Admiral Oh Yang responded from his assault shuttle. "Marines deploying now." 50 shuttles launched from human ships carrying the best soldiers Earth had ever trained. They crossed the debris field in seconds and attached to Krethis hulls. Cutting torches burned through metal. Marines poured into dark corridors with weapons ready. Taeyang led the assault on the Crusher of Worlds himself. His team of 20 soldiers moved through the massive ship like ghosts. Krethis warriors tried to stop them, but human armor deflected their weapons. Human rifles cut them down with terrible efficiency. They found Commander Grath on his bridge, surrounded by dead officers. He had a plasma pistol in his hand, pointed at the door. "You will not take me alive," Grath snarled. "I would rather die than be captured by primitives." Taeyang removed his helmet. His face was calm, almost kind. "Commander Grath, the battle is over. Your fleet is destroyed. Your soldiers are dead or surrendering. There is no honor in suicide. There is only waste. What do you know of honor? You are animals, vermin. You should be exterminated." "We know honor," Taeyang said quietly. "We know it well enough that we won't exterminate you, even though you came to exterminate us. We know it well enough to offer mercy to an enemy who showed us none." He stepped forward slowly, his hands open and empty. "Surrender, Commander. Help us end this war before more of your people die. Help us build a peace that your children and our children can share." The pistol wavered. In his eyes, Taeyang saw something break. Not courage, not pride. Something harder than both. Certainty. Commander Grath had been certain that humans were inferior. He had been certain that his fleet would crush them. He had been certain that the galaxy belonged to the strong, and the Krethis were the strongest. Now he knew he was wrong about everything. The pistol clattered to the floor. Grath fell to his knees. "I surrender," he said, his voice hollow. "I surrender." "Oh," Taeyang nodded respectfully. "Manek, treat the commander's wounds. Get him comfortable. He has a long journey ahead of him." Timestamp on his helmet display read 14 minutes and 23 seconds since first contact throughout the battle space. Krethis ships were raising white flags. Soldiers were laying down their weapons. The greatest fleet the Dominion had ever assembled was surrendering to a species they had dismissed as children, on the Indomitable. Admiral Park Doyen closed his eyes and disconnected from the Cascade network. The sudden silence in his mind was almost painful. He had felt 10,000 human souls working as one. Now he was just one man again. Admiral Lieutenant Yoon Hannah said softly, "We won." "Yes," Doyen replied. "We did." He looked out the window at the wreckage of the Krethis fleet. Broken ships tumbled slowly through space. Escape pods drifted toward the human vessels that were already moving to rescue them. "Make sure we save as many of their people as we can," Doyen ordered. They came to kill us. We will answer by keeping them alive. That is the human way." Hannah smiled through her tears. "Yes, sir. That is the human way." On Vega 4, 3 million people emerged from their shelters and looked up at the sky. They saw flashes of light that had been the battle. They saw human ships moving among the wreckage, rescuing friend and enemy alike, and they knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The Great Hall of Nathara Prime had never been so quiet. 12 species sat in their places, but none of them spoke. None of them moved. They stared at the holographic display in the center of the chamber, watching the battle recording for the third time. 14 minutes and 23 seconds. That was all it had taken. The greatest Krethis fleet in history, reduced to wreckage by a species that had only discovered fire 100,000 years ago. The High Speaker of the Velthrani sat frozen on his throne. His silver face showed no expression, but his eyes were empty with shock. The quantum predictor had calculated 6.4 hours of human resistance. It had been wrong. It had never been wrong before. The chamber doors opened. Ambassador Kong Minho walked in first. His steps echoed in the silence, steady and calm. Behind him came Admiral Park Do-yeon in full-dress uniform, his medals gleaming in the crystal light. And beside the Admiral walked Governor Shin Yoonji, representing the 3 million people whose lives had been threatened. They stopped in the center of the chamber. exactly where Minho had stood when the war was declared. 3 humans, surrounded by 12 species who had voted for their destruction. The speaker finally found his voice. Ambassador Kong? We did not expect you to return. I told you I would deliver my government's response, Minho said. I am a man of my word. Your response was delivered quite clearly, the speaker said. 212 Krethis ships destroyed. 188 captured. 0 human vessels lost. 0 human deaths. Wait. He paused. How is this possible? Minho turned to Admiral Park Do-Yan. The admiral stepped forward and faced the assembled species with calm dignity. You asked how this is possible? Do-Yan said. I will tell you. But first, I want you to understand something about humanity. Something your predictors could never calculate. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each alien representative. You are old species, ancient and powerful. You perfected your technology thousands of years ago and then stopped improving it. Why change what already works? Why innovate when you have already conquered everything you see? He smiled slightly. Humans are different. We are young. We are hungry. We never stop asking questions. We never stop trying to make things better. When we found alien technology, we did not simply copy it. We studied it. We understood it. And then we improved it. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons, he continued. So we kept our kinetic weapons. Your sensors look for power signatures. So we built ships that hide their power. Your fleets fight as individuals. So we built a system that lets us fight as one mind. You calculated how long we would survive. We calculated how fast we could win. That is the difference between your species and ours. You think about not dying. We think about victory. The chamber remained silent. The aliens had no response. Governor Shin-Yong-ji stepped forward next. Her voice was soft but carried clearly through the hall. I want you to understand something else. When your fleet attacked Vigafor, we had 3 million people on that planet. Families, children, old people, who had come to spend their final years watching alien sunsets. They were not soldiers. They were not threats. They were simply people trying to live their lives. Her eyes grew hard. You voted to kill them. All of you. 12 species decided that human lives did not matter, that we could be murdered to teach us our place. She let the words hang in the air. And yet, when we won, when we had your fleet at our mercy, do you know what Admiral Park ordered? He ordered his ships to rescue your soldiers, to save as many Krethis lives as possible. Enemies who came to murder our children were pulled from burning ships by humans who had every reason to let them die, asked the Nolvec representative, bubbling in confusion. Why would you save those who tried to destroy you? Ambassador Kong Minho answered, because that is who we are. We fight hard. We fight to win. But we do not fight to exterminate. We do not believe that being strong means being cruel. He turned back to the speaker. We could have destroyed every ship in that fleet. We could have followed them back to Krethis space and burned their worlds. We have the power. You have seen it. But we chose mercy instead. And now, Minho continued, we must decide what happens next. The Galactic Assembly has 2 choices. He raised one finger. The first choice is war. You can try to destroy us. You can send fleet after fleet against us. Perhaps you will eventually succeed. Perhaps you will kill every human in the galaxy. But I promise you this. The cost will be higher than you can imagine. We will not go quietly. We will fight until the last human child draws their last breath. And we will make you bleed for every single one of us. He raised a second finger. The second choice is peace, not submission. Not humanity kneeling before your thrones. Equal partnership. We join the Galactic Assembly as a full member. We share our innovations with you. We trade. We cooperate. We build a future together. Speaker leaned forward. You would share your technology? After what we did? Yes, Minho said. Because holding grudges serves no one. Because we would rather have you as friends than corpses. Because the galaxy is big enough for all of us, if we choose to share it. Admiral Doyen spoke again. The predictor calculated that we would resist for 6 hours. It was wrong because it only measured what it could see. It could not measure human creativity. It could not measure our willingness to think differently. And it could not measure mercy. He straightened his uniform. We offer you something no predictor could calculate. The chance to be surprised. The chance to learn from a species that sees the universe differently than you do. The chance to grow again, after 10,000 years of standing still. Governor Shinyunji added the final words. My niece and nephew, who hid in the moon shelters while your fleet tried to kill them, are watching what happens next. If you choose war, I will tell them that the galaxy is a place of death and fear. If you choose peace, I will tell them that even enemies can become friends. She smiled gently. What message do you want to send to the children of the galaxy? Yours and ours. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then the High Speaker rose from his throne. He was 3,000 years old, and in all that time, he had never felt so uncertain. He had never felt so hopeful. The Assembly will vote, he announced. All in favor of accepting humanity as equal partners in the Galactic Assembly? One by one, hands rose. The Nolvek, the Velthrani, even the Krethis representative, a young officer who had replaced Commander Grath, 12 hands. 12 species. Unanimous. The speaker bowed his head to Ambassador Kong Minho. Welcome to the galaxy, humanity. We have much to learn from each other. Minho bowed in return. Yes, we do. That night, on Vegafor, the people gathered in the streets to celebrate. Music played. Children laughed. Families held each other and cried with relief and joy. Admiral Park Do-yeon stood on a balcony above the celebration, watching his people dance under alien stars. Governor Shin Yun-ji stood beside him. We did it, she said softly. We actually did it. We did more than survive, Do-yeon replied. We changed everything. The galaxy will never be the same. Was it worth it? The fear? The risk? Do-yeon watched a little girl dancing with her father below, her laughter rising up to the stars. They gave us hours to die, he said quietly. We gave ourselves minutes to win. And now, our children will grow up in a galaxy where they are equals, not victims. Yes, it was worth it. Far above, human ships patrolled peacefully alongside Velthrani and Krethis vessels. Former enemies worked together to repair the damage and rescued the survivors. And in the great halls of power across 1,000 worlds, leaders spoke a name with new respect. Humanity, the species that had been told to kneel and had chosen instead to stand. The children of Earth, who had turned 14 minutes into forever.